It was at this moment that he knew.
He bucked up. Welcome. You're listening to Bucked Up with Sam Buck.
Now you fucked up. Now you fucked up. Now you fucked up. You have fucked up now. Now you fucked up. 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 Now you have fucked up.
Welcome to the Bucked Up Podcast, Sean Vigue. Thank you so much for being on. You are a fantastic yoga instructor, one of the top male yoga instructors on YouTube, and the reason that I got into yoga and have been doing it every single day for 2 years now.
Excellent. 2 years.
2 years.
Fantastic.
Yes. So thank you very much for being
often
on.
do you see me?
I use your videos probably five days a week, 4 or 5 days a week. I love yours because you do more of the power yoga, and we can get into that, but I love the workout and the stretch. I was always a really stiff kid growing up. I never stretched. I never did anything. I did sports, but stretching wasn't my thing. I was never able to touch my toes. And then finally I hurt my calf running one time, and I was looking up who to watch on YouTube to help, and you popped up because I wanted a male instructor. And that's how it started. That's how the journey started.
Isn't that great? It's kind of like we're old friends, but I didn't know that.
Exactly. I've
yeah.
just been watching you from afar.
Do you comment on the videos much?
No, I don't. I am a bad commenter. I want everyone to like and subscribe and comment to my videos, but I do not do that. I'm not one of those. I love your little questions though.
Yeah, I've been lately I've been asking a lot of like specific questions of people. That gets people to kind of chime in below, and then they write other things too. And don't sweat about commenting. I've had people that have finally commented. They said they've been following me for 8 or 9 years. They thought they should finally say something. And I think you do the workout and then you're done. You just move on. You don't think, well, let me write something down here now. You probably want to go get something to eat.
So this is a self-help podcast. Most people don't know when listening to it, but I try to keep a daily routine. I do a yoga every day. I meditate every day, and I try to get a run in every day. So I try to limit my access to screen time when I'm in my morning mode, when I'm trying to get all that stuff down, which is funny when I'm doing it all on my phone, but I can get sucked into that.
Though. Yeah,
I can get sucked into that spiral.
Yeah, I'm happiest usually when my screen time is very, very limited and very targeted, whether it's a workout or watching something on YouTube I want to watch, but I've actually been way off social media the last 6-7 months.
Is that hard, trying to limit it while trying to also build your social media? That's been my problem with this podcast.
Yeah, it's kind of ironic, isn't it? Because you'll say, well, I don't like to do social media on my phone, but then I'm posting things on my phone. But, every day is a little different. We have all these things at our fingertips now. So that's why I schedule posts a lot. Then I'll go on once or twice a day to answer questions or comments if people have those. But yeah, I mean, social media, especially when you're immersed in it, when you're posting videos and blogs and books and stuff like that, it's easy to just want to stay on there all day. And I didn't like that. I like targeted because then I can go off and do other things too.
Exactly. So I want to get through your whole journey, but how did you start with YouTube? When did you start wanting to really build posting videos on yoga videos on YouTube?
Well, I love this story because I grew up doing home videos. My dad bought a camcorder for us when I was pretty young. So I got pretty proficient with the camcorder, and I did a lot of home videos. When friends would stay overnight, I would shoot home videos. We do fun things together. And so that was back in, I think we're in 2009 is when my best friend, Stefan, he's on my podcast, so I like to give him a shout out. Even though
shout out to Sean Vigue Podcast. Shout out to your podcast, the Sean Vigue Podcast.
Shout out to the Sean Vigue Podcast, which I'm going to be reigniting soon. I've kind of been MIA on it, but that's fine. he recommended, he's a technology guy, and I was teaching a lot of fitness classes at that point. And I just got done doing, I did professional theater for many, many years. So doing home videos and professional theater, and then I got into fitness. And he recommended getting a flip camera and a MacBook Pro because I was interested in filming. And 2009, I didn't really know. I had to do a little investigating. I thought you had to go to a studio, like you had to rent out a studio that had cameras and catering tables and, you know, people running around doing makeup. I just wasn't sure. And I love being outside. And when he said that, he goes, no, just get a flip camera and you film it, you push the big red button, then you plug it into your MacBook Pro and you edit on iMovie and then you upload. And that changed everything because I could take what I was doing in my classes, I was teaching all the time, and I could kind of package that into a video and then put it out on YouTube. And I had an old channel, it was Vigue, now it's Sean Vigue Fitness, but I started on one channel and I was experimenting a lot. I enjoyed editing because that's something I could never do when I did home videos, was edit. It was, you would just film it, you could put titles on, that was it. If you tried to edit, this was a VCR, so you would cut off half the video sometimes. So summer of 2009, took the flip out. I was living in Florida, in Celebration, Florida. I take it out to parks and film. I started off doing more Pilates in the beginning.
That's it's crazy how you grew up working with a camera and then it kind of helped you. That kind of worked in my life. Little things that I did in my past helped me get to where I am now. But how long were you putting out videos before you started getting traction?
Yeah, I don't even remember sometime. Because in the beginning, if you get 20 views, it's a big deal.
I understand that,
at first because you don't know who's going to watch these videos. If I'm teaching a live class, I know pretty much everybody there. I can at least see them. And, once you go onto YouTube or you go on the internet, it can be a little scary sometimes taking that first step. I would say probably, it was funny because certain videos would just plug in and start taking off. Some would kind of level off. It's hard to figure out how that works sometimes, which ones get in the algorithm, which ones don't.
Do you remember the first video that blew up for you or the first video that got a lot of views?
One of them I always think of is videos are kind of like little movies that I've done. A lot of times I don't remember them, but there's one called the 20-minute Killer Core Workout that it's in the millions of views now, but that was one that it also just kept going like that and that and that. I remember when it hit 50,000 views, I was at home in Wisconsin visiting my parents, and that was huge. That was probably back in 2009, 2010. It hit 50,000 views, and it just kept going. And the comments were very positive. And that was a video, I believe, I just ad-libbed the whole thing. I had planned to film a short one, and it just kept going and going, and it turned into a really nice video.
That's awesome. Do you how do you deal with the hate? I had one video get on one of the front pages of Reddit, and it had some hate on it, and it was the first time I dealt with it on like a big scale. So I was like, it it got me, but I moved past it and realized it was a learning experience. But do you deal with hate, or how do you handle
Everybody love everybody.
Well, that's the thing. The more, the bigger your audience gets, the more the odds are that you're going to get some people in there that are going to say some things. I've been very fortunate. I hardly ever get weird comments. Some are, a little strange. If you get like a really rude comment, you kind of look at it for a bit because I'm going through answering comments. And, in your mind, your mind's saying what you really want to say. And you're like, no, don't write that down. Because you're the one out here doing the videos, and this is someone, they don't even have an avatar. So it may be a friend of mine trying to mess with me, but I usually just respond in a pretty nice way. Sometimes if it's a bad one with a lot of swear words stuff, I'll just delete it. Or it'll get flagged anyway. But a lot of times I'll engage them because some people, they get upset a workout isn't what they thought it would be, which if they were in person, I just have a discussion with them and be fine. But this way, you just want to kind of cool it down. And I always say, obviously this isn't for you. Can I recommend a different kind of video or something like that? Because all of us, we kind of want to engage them at their level sometimes. There is that. And like, no, don't do that. Don't do that. It doesn't help anybody. So, and half the time when I do that, if I answer nicely, they'll write back. Sometimes they'll say, oh, I appreciate that, or I'm sorry. So it works out well. But yeah, I don't.
They probably just want your attention. That's the only way that they can get it. Yeah.
Again, I have no idea. You know, I don't know who the person is. They don't have a name. It's a weird world. It's a comment that comes through into your peripheral. And I always say, and I'm good at this sometimes and not all the time, but in life, it's not really what happens to you. It's how you react to it. So, and it's good too, because other people scrolling the comments will see how you handled that. And they're like, oh, I like that. He didn't like get angry or something, or, you know, throw a fit. He just said, hey, I want to help you. How can I help you? And usually people will soften up.
Yeah, I feel like there is a correlation, especially that I do the yoga and meditation, and yoga is a form of meditation, and I am more tense when I don't do it, whether that be mentally or physically. But I feel like it does help kind of calm you down and not want to react to people on that level.
Well, how did you respond to it if you get a nasty comment?
I ignored it. Honestly, I ignored it. It's kind of I don't know. A friend once said to me that attention is the only universal currency. So when things that I don't like, or people I don't like, or people who are detrimental, or comments that are detrimental, I try not to pay it attention, because I don't want to give it the currency, or I don't want to give it the time.
You're giving it fuel sometimes.
So that's just, but I always am, you are on a much bigger scale than I am. So I was wondering, especially doing something that, you know, even friends will make fun of me and say it's silly that I do yoga, but then they wake up so stiff, and it's like, okay, there's a thing you can do about that if you just open up your mind a little bit.
It's universal. It's for everybody. If you don't want to think of it as yoga, think of it as stretching. Oh, I'm just going to stretch. Everyone stretches. That's fine.
You said you had a background in theater, and you did theater. I studied theater in college, film and theater. So I could actually kind of tell in your videos, you have a very great playfulness and silliness to your, and a good, as you said, ad lib. Like, you can come up with, you keep me interested. That's why
you gotta think on your toes. Yeah, you gotta think on your toes. But did you study in Boston?
Yeah, outside of Boston. I went to Wheaton College.
So I've heard of Wheaton. Yeah, I probably worked with people from Wheaton.
You might have, but how'd you get into theater?
I majored in college. I went into college undeclared. I actually was going to shift from one university to the other. I was going to go to a different one in town, but I ended up staying at Viterbo. This is in La Crosse, Wisconsin. And I actually went in undeclared, and I wanted to be a history major and do a few different things. And then I started doing theater. And I had done theater in high school. I really enjoyed it. And, you know, the home videos that I did and everything too really contributed to that. But started taking voice lessons and sang some opera, sang vocal competitions in college as well. And again, it's kind of like when I went into doing videos for fitness, you just don't know. It's a different world. Like, I don't know how it works. It's not as set as doing something like, well, I'm going to become a CPA. I'm going to be an accountant. I'm going to go to law school, be a lawyer. In theater, it's you don't really know what's out there. My parents, they were very supportive, but they just didn't know. They thought I'd be homeless somewhere and eating beans. Because, well, there's film, and then there's Broadway. What else is there? I'm like, well, there's a lot of great regional professional theater. And I started going to cattle call auditions, big ones like in Atlanta and Chicago and in Wisconsin. And you start getting gigs, and it just goes from there. And your confidence goes up because you realize people want to work with you. And the more networking you do, the easier it is to get work. So I did that for about 12 years. Traveled around the country. I say I went to Europe, but that was with our college choir, but I did sing in Europe, so that counts.
What made you want to make the switch from that over to Pilates and yoga?
Well, I always liked fitness. I remember somebody once said, when you pass a magazine stand, what magazines do you pick up? And for me, I always liked Entertainment Weekly. I liked stuff with entertainment theater, and I always liked fitness, like Men's Health, Men's Fitness. shape magazines, stuff like that. I would always gravitate towards that. And when I was doing theater, I would always work out in gyms, and I started training a lot of my cast members that I worked with. If they wanted to go to the gym and learn how to do certain things, I started doing that. And it was actually when I was doing a production of Fiddler on the Roof in Hollywood, Florida. I always played the Russian guy in that. It was a big solo and run off with one of the third Jewish daughter. And I was doing that, and I went down to Miami and took the ACE test, the American Council of Exercise test. I'm glad I remembered that. That would have been bad. But we actually had someone sub for me for one show, because I studied for it for months, and I went down to Miami. It's like an hour and a half away, and I took the test, and I passed. And I started doing personal training, and in conjunction with doing professional theater too.
Oh, that's awesome. Which one was it like a money thing that you switched over? Were you teaching class? You were teaching classes while you were doing theater?
What I started with first was personal training. I didn't teach any classes until I moved up to Orlando back in 2000. This was back in like 2005. 2005, I taught my first spinning class, and then I taught Pilates. So I was personal training at a gym called Club Fit. That was in the Fort Lauderdale area. And I was still auditioning and doing shows, did some fringe festivals and stuff. And then I moved to Orlando, and I actually went there as a fitness person instead of a theater person, which for years I just traveled around like, oh, I'm in an acting company. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And Orlando was a little strange at first because it's different. You know, I was working at gyms, and it was a different feel, different people. Theater people are a little more gregarious. And then I started taking group classes, which I had never done before. And then I got certified. I'm like, I want to teach Pilates. And then I went to yoga after that, and I was teaching spin. Then I got fired from teaching spin at Florida. It was a Celebration Health in Florida Hospital. I got fired. I don't even know why at this stage, but I eventually got back to that gym too and taught again. Perseverance. But when I got fired, that's what brought me over to Disney World, and I started teaching over there, and that was big, and that got me really started. So it helped.
Teach it. What were you teaching at Disney World?
Well, I taught yoga and Pilates for cast members. I did that for about 9 years through cast services.
Oh,
I can't
wow.
say I was their instructor, because I said that once in a video, and they said, you can't say that. I said, well, I instruct them through cast activities. I mean, that's years ago now, but I went to all these different sites backstage, cast services, feature animation, Team Disney, Disney University, and I worked with cast members. It was fantastic. 5 days a week.
Do you do any theater now, or no? Or are you
other than just singing all the time? I sing to my son all the time. But you had asked about theater. I love theater, but I got burned out. I mean, I did it boom, like that, and I always say the things I loved about it start to nag at you a while. The constant traveling, working with new people, and then you start wanting a little bit more. I'm like, yeah, let's see what else is out there. So that was a nice switch.
When you moved to Colorado, I was wondering this, was when you were doing yoga and you moved to Colorado, was the elevation, you do a lot of videos outside, but also was the elevation, did that affect you at all? Did you have to get used to that?
When we came up here to look at houses, I remember I had a little headache. We were here for like a 3-day weekend, my wife and I, and the realtor was driving us around. I had a headache. I drank a lot of water, but right now we live at 8,200 feet. So it's good. I mean, it's good for your health and your oxygen uptake abilities, but yeah, Florida is sea level and it's humid. So coming up here, it was a little switch. When I would film cardio workouts outside, my throat would be sore for a few days from the dryness too. And you're like, so you really had to be in shape, or else you look really out of shape in a video because you're gasping for air. I'm like, who's this instructor? He's going to pass out any second. I'm fine.
Was that a hard thing to adapt to? Was that a hard thing to adapt to while making the videos? Is like, why did you move to Colorado? Was it?
Well, we wanted to live in the mountains. Florida, I always liked Florida, but it was hot and crowded and flat. And we had looked at a few states like North Carolina. And, my wife's best friend lives here in the town we're at. in Colorado. So that made it easier, and it was a nice fit. It was a nice fit. We're about a half hour from Denver. So, and she works for a big corporation, so that works out very well. And I like to be up here in the mountains.
Yeah, it works out for you. How old's your dog now?
Oh, Addie, she's almost 9. Yeah, she'll be 9 in November.
Something I love about your videos is the silliness of them, which comes in through the theater, but like you'll edit in your dog or the monster sounds when I cannot do yoga with my dog in the room. She'll jump all over me.
Oh yeah, it's a good but Addie is she's very secretive because you won't even know she's there. Then all of a sudden she'll jump right on you in the middle of something, and you've seen that. And I'll leave it in there. And I want to leave it in there because I'm outside, fitness is life, flowing is life. I don't like sterile environments like that. I like to get a little dirty. And as I said, I'll forget Addie is there. Then all of a sudden she'll come up behind me and jump on me. And sometimes she hurts because she'll scratch the heck out of me. But I adore Addie, and she's been with me for so long. And I bring her, usually when I film outside, I bring her with, even though she hates going for walks. So it's no one realized that how much she hates going for walks. You have to kind of pull her along, which I hate doing. And sometimes she walks okay on trails, but if it's out here in the street, she'll try to pull out of her harness every single time. She'll just go back to the house. That's what she wants. She's lazy.
Is your family into yoga, your son, your wife also, or are they kind of like, that's his thing? My dad's a drummer, so it's like music's his thing.
Oh yeah, I was a drummer in high school. Well, I met my wife in one of my Pilates classes in Florida. That's where I met her. It was a Saturday morning one. I actually came in a little late. She came early. She had just moved there from Louisiana. She went to LSU. And that's where I met her. We just started chatting and started going out and stuff. So that's why I always say I taught classes so I could pick up women and then marry them and be with them for a long time. So
settle, move to Colorado.
But no, Jilly, I know. And then my next book that's coming out, she's one of the models. It's her and I who are the fitness models in it. So that was nice too to include her.
Is that your 13th book? You've published a lot. I was on your website.
Well, I've done a number of ebooks just for Amazon and Apple, and then this will be my second mass paperback digital book. Paperback and digital. This will be out at the end of next month. This is Pilates for Athletes, and I'm in talks with another publisher too. Maybe do another book after that. I like writing the books.
You said you got burnt out of theater. Do you get burnt out doing all the avenues? You have so many books and your videos, and do you teach classes still? Or I guess not right now. But
I just came from teaching a class just down the hill a little ways. I like it, but yeah, I do it's being self-employed with this. I have some other business things I do too, but most of the time I love what I do with fitness, but yeah, sometimes you wonder if you're still giving something original out there, because I've filmed so many videos and taught so many classes. Sometimes you do feel that way, like, do I have anything else original to say, or should I move on to something else? I think that a lot, but it kind of re-energizes me too then to do some more research and come up with something unique, and that helps me out too.
Was there something that made you that flipped the switch of this is what you're doing?
The fitness,
or becoming a professional, like being self-employed in your videos and.
Yeah, well, I've always kind of been on the fringe. I've never worked in an office. Doing theater is very different. It's kind of on the fringe. You travel around a lot. You work with different people all the time. You're always in front of audiences. You're always, making sure that your mind and your body is in good shape, because you're always, required to do something, whether it's sing, dance, act, emote, fight, whatever it is. And I'm sorry, what was the question? I got off a little bit.
No problem. I was just saying, what flipped the switch in your mind to really take this seriously and become a professional? Because you're one of the number one on YouTube.
I do all right. But you know what it was is that I didn't really plan at all to do any of this. Like I tried it out. I started teaching and I really liked that. And more importantly, people liked coming to my classes. If I was teaching and no one wanted to come, I would move on to something else, obviously. But in Florida, with teaching, I started networking and I went with Disney. I got with different schools and businesses and resorts, dance studios, private homes, clubhouses, and it was fun. The entrepreneur in me really enjoyed that because I got to build a lot of classes myself and start marketing that way. That forces you to learn how to use social media, to learn how to market, to learn how to film when that time came. So, and the theater background and the home video background really, really helped me with that. But it fits my personality a lot to be an instructor, to be in front of people all the time. And it's just looking back, I mean, it's been thousands and thousands of classes that I've taught and then thousands of videos that I've done too. It's a nice legacy because it's always, always, always a really positive experience. I would never want it to be anything but that, a positive, effective, beneficial experience where everybody leaves feeling better than when they started.
Do you ever go back and look at your first couple videos and kind of see the growth, or do you try to stay away from those?
I have a little bit if they pop up, but once I shoot it, I never watch it. I just edit it because at this point, I'm like, well, I know how it looks. And if there was something weird in the video, I'll hold up my hand so I make sure I edit it out. Mm-hmm. If something weird happens, I can't. Well, once in a while, if I swear, and I don't mean to, because I don't want. Some of my old videos, there's a couple swear words in there. I'm like, crap. I don't remember doing it. Especially if you're doing a 40-minute video or 50 minutes. But mainly I shoot it, I edit it out, and then boom, upload it.
What's your turnaround time on a video?
Well, it used to be a lot longer because I would upload. I had a GoPro. I'd film with that. I'd upload into the iMac that I'm talking on right now. That would go into iMovie, and then you'd edit that and export it. It would take hours and hours. Now it's on my iPhone. I film on my iPhone. I edit it with the Splice app and then export, upload. I've had difficulties up here in the mountains from time to time with upload speed, but now it's pretty fast. I can get a video up within an hour if I wanted to. Before it'd be like 7 or 8 hours, going up and down the stairs and checking on it and, oh, it stopped. What happened? These are things no one should ever know about when they watch a video, but me and a handful of my other fitness friends who do videos on YouTube, a lot of us know each other, and I like talking to them because they have the same things. Like, oh man, I can't upload this video. I've been trying for 2 days, and I keep having problems. So, and they're not big problems, but with the iPhone, it's very fast now.
Are you known around town as the yoga guy? I know on a couple of your videos, you'll have people drive by and wave at you, or.
I don't, the neighbors, I make comments about that because they'll drive by. What's he doing? They'll watch it. Maybe, we just moved. We're in a different house now. We moved about 3 months ago. So that famous deck that you've seen so many times, that's 0.7 miles over there now. And I miss that house, but with our son.
I was just saying, no more deck. I do know what deck you're talking about.
I know. I wish I could go over there and film, but the new owners wouldn't like it. They have some contractors over there, but I miss that deck. I miss that house too. I love our new house, but with our son, that house wasn't very big and it got really cramped with the boy. Filming outside, always outside. And the neighbors, they watch.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see yourself keeping going, or is there an end point in mind? I know you said you stumbled into this, but what do you see a next step, or what?
I'm not even sure. I keep stumbling, which is good. And I always say if I didn't want to do it anymore, I wouldn't do it. And here we are, like 10 years. I've been teaching classes now for almost 15 years. Holy cow. And I still really like it. Like, I went down and talked today and we had a great time. We had a good flow, threw some new moves at them. It's at a gym, and then they have Zoom set up if people don't want to come in. So you got the Zoom over here and you got the live people here. And I really like writing books. I mean, that's something I see myself doing more of because I can do that from anywhere. I can film anywhere. And fortunately for me, what I teach is lifelong stuff. Yoga, flexibility training, Pilates. These are things you don't get burned out on them. You do them right. You do them until you're 110 years old. It might help you live to be 110. So I'm set up nicely that way. I'm not set up where I'm doing powerlifting like, oh man, you know, I just turned 46 and I do a lot of weight training, but you know, I don't lift as heavy as I used to. There's certain things you just got to be more careful with. But with yoga, Pilates, flexibility training, it enhances me. It keeps me going. So it's a double win, I suppose.
Was your family a fitness family growing up, or what was your childhood like with that?
They were active. My mom walked all the time. I got my love for walking from my mom. Do you walk? Go for walks?
Yes, I love walking through the wood. I grew up in a farm town, so I love walking through the woods. I love running. I love just connecting with nature in that way.
It's fantastic. And what was nice is that when I taught in Florida, when my parents would come visit, they had a condo down there. My dad would come to my classes a lot. So he enjoyed Pilates a lot more than the yoga, but he liked the social aspect of it too. He knew everybody there. He would come early and help me set up. And so he was very supportive. And he's in, I don't know if you see my dad in some of the videos, he'll pop up. My dad passed away about 3.5 years ago. My mom passed away last Christmas too. So they're not with us anymore, but they were very supportive. My mom was in some videos too. But my dad was a ham. He was like me. I'm like, Dad, you want to come film with me? He's like, sure. And we would go out with Addie and like, just walk back and forth a few times, Dad. Do something funny. And he'd like jump up and down or something. So they enjoy being in the videos too, which I was very fortunate.
That's nice to have those memories captured that you can kind of, not that you go back and watch videos, but that's nice that you have those.
Oh, I watch him. Yeah, after I lost Dad, I dedicated a 7-day challenge to him. And that was nice. Again, I'm like, well, do I do that? Do I not do that? But I wanted to. And I wanted to show some videos of him because he had such a great time with the filming. And the flip camera, I don't have that anymore. I have it. It doesn't work. You know, even he could use that because it had a big red button on it. Because he didn't, like, he was an engineer, but things like that would throw him off. Like, no, you just push the big red button and push it to stop, and he was good. And then he and Addie would sit behind the camera.
Is your son, does your son work out with you, or is he like, that's Dad's thing, this is not mine?
Well, he's 18 months, so he just rolls around.
Oh, okay.
He can run.
Congratulations, yeah.
Thank you. He's a good boy. He does things, you see him do, like, hey, that's a yoga pose, or that's this. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's just rolling around the floor and doing down dogs and headstands and stuff and falling into things he's not supposed to fall into. But it's great to watch him because he's finding his own strength now and his own skill level. Like, he can run, he can walk, he can jump, he can do all these things now. I remember we just laid him down on the bed. You could leave him there all day if you wanted to. We didn't, but he wouldn't move. He just lay on his back. And then you put him on his stomach to work his back, and he'd get upset. And now he's all over the place. He's napping right now. He can't. But it's fun to watch him move and get control of his body like that, and also fail. You know, he falls a lot, but he gets stronger then. He doesn't fall as much then, and he adapts to it. I'm on an exercise ball. That's why I'm bouncing.
No problem. I'm the same way. I always keep moving my legs, bouncing. Do you have a few videos for yoga for kids and teens? Do you think that's like a thing you're going to go into while your son is growing up?
That's a great question. And I was going to write a book about that, but I just kind of, I still can. I was going to get a bunch of photos with Dane doing poses and stuff. I mean, he's 18 months. We certainly can. Those videos, I saw those a few weeks ago. They're very popular. I had filmed them. I got the idea, then there's out there. It's hard to check on all your kids, all your videos. There's thousands of them. So like, they're just out there. You hope they're doing well and enjoying life. And yeah, I noticed when I did a couple of those, they did very well. And I always come at it from a little different angle too. I teach kids, I talk to kids the way I would talk to adults a lot. I have fun with them, but I don't talk down to kids. I just like to, I bring Addie with me and we have a good time and we learn a lot about the poses.
Mm-hmm. When did you first hear about Pilates and yoga? When was that? When did you first hear about it?
When I was doing theater, I think I used to take dance classes because I wasn't much of a dancer. I never thought about it, but I would go to New York a lot in between gigs, and I would audition there and hang out with friends and spend way too much money. But I would go to Broadway Dance Center and take jazz classes. I always like to give her a shout out. Her name was Sue Samuels. I don't know if she still teaches there, but she was fantastic. And for the warm up and the cool down, we would do kind of little yoga inspired stretches and maybe, throw in some Pilates there also. And I liked it. I think I had done those movements anyway before, and I certainly liked how they made me feel. They spoke to me a lot of longevity. And when you're doing 9 West Side Story performances a week, you gotta, even, I was 24, 25, 26, but still you have to stay in shape because you could easily pull a hamstring, pull a quad when you're jumping around all the time. And, youth can be, it can make you work too hard sometimes. You think you just get away with anything. But I knew a lot of people I worked with who didn't do it that would injure themselves a lot. So I actually injured my back doing Fiddler on the Roof once in Coral Gables, Florida. That was just that damn Russian dance. That put me out for like a week. And that's how I got into Pilates. After that, I started training my core because I had never really done proper core work before. I was 29 when this happened. Oh, I was so mad. But yeah, the Russian dance, you go really low, and I just popped something in my low back, and I was just laying on the floor the next week, like I was hobbled, and it was very humbling. And that's kind of how I started doing, like, I gotta work my core. I'd never thought about that before.
Were you were you a gym guy before that?
I was, but you know what? I wasn't focused on core. Maybe do just a little ab work, but I wasn't doing planks and Supermans and all those good Pilates yoga core moves. But I like to lift heavy. I would bench and squat and just wanted big muscles and stuff. But I may have got it, but my center was weak, so when you're faced with something like that, it was obviously something that was pushing me over time, and then it just came to a head right there. I remember that. It didn't feel right. In my latest book, in the intro, I actually write about that incident, because that's what led me into Pilates.
Get the Russian that damn Russian dance.
That damn you squat down, then you jump up, and you know what? Then I got out of it because I had the solo, and then they just let me stand there. And throughout the run of that show, the guys playing the Russians they kept getting injured. Like I remember the dressing room smelled like Ben Gay, like liquid heat, because they kept putting things on their muscles because their muscles were all pulled. So I was so happy I got out of it.
You need to go back and teach whenever they have Fiddler on the Roof, you need to teach them how to stretch before they go into that damn Russian dance.
Oh, it's so, yeah, because I remember the choreographer kept saying, lower, get lower, and then pop it. And sometimes you can pull a muscle, but this didn't feel right. I'm like, oh, and then by that evening, I was hunched over. Just, all of a sudden I aged like 60 or 70 years within a day. And, oh, man, that was rough.
Do you feel younger, like, since then? Your body's been stretched for so long now, but can you, especially with friends and people, I'm starting now, is it beneficial? Looking back, are you happy that is it beneficial to your body?
Of course, and it makes itself known every day, because a few days ago, I was downstairs at night. I like to go downstairs. I write, I watch old movies, and I stretch. And my low back was really tight. And, why is my back tight? And then I realized, Sean, you haven't done a core workout in like 2 weeks. I make these declarations like, I'm going to do it every other day. I just did one down at the gym. I'm back on track now. But I was just really haphazard with my core workouts, with my stretching. And when I was lifting weights at the gym, I would go in. Sometimes I really wouldn't warm up. And I would kind of lift a little heavier than I should, and then I just leave. I'm like, well, what do you expect, Sean? Over time, that's going to push into your back. It's going to push into areas of your body. You have to practice what you preach. I film it all the time, but sometimes I have a hard time implementing it in my own workouts. You just like, well, I got 20 minutes. Yeah, I'll do it. I feel fine. And then, but it's never, and anytime you get a pulled muscle injury like that, it's usually never something that happens right at that moment. It's something that's been slowly percolating in your body, whether over days, weeks, months, maybe even years, from imbalances and ways you're carrying yourself and your posture and your core imbalances. So I feel so much better. Like I went to the gym, I did 20 minutes, just stretches and core exercises. But even myself, I have to confess, I don't always, practice what I preach. I think we all do that. I mean, we're human. We're flawed. We just drift, and we like, no, I want to do this, and then my back hurts.
That's the whole point of this podcast. It's called Bucked Up for a reason. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm trying to figure it out too. I remember when I first started watching your videos and really getting into yoga, I'd be sore in places I didn't realize, and then I would be able to do movements that I never was able to do before. Once I kind of broke, like I can now say I can touch my toes for the first time in 23 years in life. Like after doing it, it's funny. Like you think you just can't do these things, but really you just have to get to the practice of doing
that. We were talking about comments earlier on videos, and you get negative comments. The one I have a yoga for men video that's very popular, and gets great reactions, but I'll get comments on there a lot like, this isn't for beginners. It's a beginner one. This is too fat. This isn't for beginners. And I always respond with, well, how many times have you practiced this? And they're like, I never did it. Like, well, how do you expect to be able to do it? Like, just pick one pose in this routine and practice it every day for a week. I guarantee you will see very good improvement. But this notion of, this isn't for I can't do the first one. I can't. Like, that's such a defeatist attitude also. Like, this video exists. It's yours. It's not mine anymore. Once you upload a video, it belongs to whoever's watching it. So I always write, I say, just practice one. Just practice one video. You can never expect to, it sounds obvious, but you can never improve without being consistent, putting in the time. Like, well, I've never done it before. I've never done calculus before, and I just didn't get it right away. So screw it.
Well, it's funny. When I first watched, I think it was the beginner's video 2 years ago. I did it the first time and I was like, this is not for me. And then I had hurt my calf and it was like a week or two later and I still wasn't able to run. And then I was like, you know what? The whole reason I'm not able to do that is because I haven't practiced it. So I watched that video every day for, I'd say maybe a month or two. And I did the same thing for a month or two, just stretching it, trying to perfect everything. And when I finally did it, it let me build the basis for building up and being able to try new things. But I had to everyone has a learning curve. You can't pick up a guitar and start playing immediately. Or people do, like I'm a stand-up. Other than this podcast, I'm a stand-up, and people will be like, people will think that you can just go up on stage and start being funny, but it's like I've bombed for a long 10 times a week just to get, like, you got to build it up. There's a learning curve for everything.
That's fantastic. And you did it the right way with stand-up, obviously, and with the video, because once it's like a video game. It's like unlocking a secret level or another level all of a sudden, like, I finally get it. Because once you put in the time and the effort, it's so much more rewarding when you actually start seeing the benefits. And for everybody, they're a little different. But I'm so confident in what I teach that just do it a number of times. I'm so confident that people will see improvement if they're consistent with it. They'll be like, oh, wow. Because it's so foreign to a lot of people. You said that earlier, it's so foreign to want to stretch and do yoga. I never thought about that before. So I like that I'm a lot of people's gateway into that kind of movement. I like that. Like, look, I don't take myself very seriously. Here's what we're going to do. We're having a good time. It's yours. Practice it. Enjoy it. Don't, just relax. It's okay. No one's going to get hurt if this pose doesn't feel the way you want it to feel. It's okay.
As a teacher, do you feel like you have students or people commenting on your videos that, like, don't have the inner drive to continue. Like they're like, come on, like do they put the burden on you? Do you feel that as a teacher, or can you tell when someone really wants to learn and really wants to get better?
Well, if it's a comment, it's pretty obvious. They say something like, no, this is just too tough for me. I'm going to look for something more beginner. Well, okay. Then they move on and stuff. But no, when I teach live classes, I structure them very well because they're just usually a kind of a yoga flow class with Pilates or candlelight yoga, or if it's a power yoga class. But I work very hard at teaching to all levels. I do that in the videos too, but I will give add-ons and I will give modifications. So people know that. I'm more of a guide. You know, I can't control what you're doing, but I will give you those options. It's like a menu at a restaurant. Like, I want that, and I want that, and I want that. And as you go along, you choose different things. I want the onion rings. And the goal is to keep flowing, keep moving, and not break that up. So if somebody's in a pose, like, oh, this is okay, but kind of want more, I'm all of a sudden Sean says, well, if you want a little more, put your right arm up, you know, do a stretch here, or do a wrap, or move this leg a little bit that way. It's great because it's all body weight. So you don't have to say, okay, go over and grab a different set of weights and a band and a kettlebell, and then meet me back here. You can say, just turn your foot a little bit. Aha, you feel that?
That was my favorite thing when watching the video over and over again, when I was finally able to do the modifications, or like, oh, I can finally do that thing that was a little bit harder, but now that's the norm for me.
And then your brain like celebrates, doesn't it? It passes all that on to your body. Is this the one where I'm outside on the driveway where Addie comes running at me?
Yes, it is. Yeah, that is the one.
I put in a little bear sound or something, and a lot of people think
I loved
that's
that.
her. Like, I don't know, like, yeah. And then a guy recently, I think, wrote on there, he was upset that I did that. Like, I thought about writing something like, just forget it. He was upset that Addie did that. I'm like, okay, I'll talk to my dog for you. Well,
that was
6 years ago or something.
This happened at a PGA tour a couple of years ago. I was reading about it, that some guy was watching and he recognized that the bird sounds weren't native birds to where the PGA tour was being held. So he called ESPN, he emailed ESPN and was like, you're faking these bird sounds. And it turned out they were putting in fake bird sounds. And it was a big controversy. But also, who gets mad about the bear sounds on your yoga video?
Most people like it. Well, I think this person had said, oh, it's so relaxing. And then there's a bear sound. I'm like, well, she just came running towards me. What was I supposed to do? So I'll probably write back and say something like, yeah, I told her to stop that. But, you know.
I love that you do edit, of course, but you show all of it. You show that it's a process. And even in your videos, like with Addie running up and jumping on you, or if you don't mess up, but if you slip, you kind of focus back. And that's the way that that's why I think I and a lot of people connect to you, is because
that's life, isn't it? I like it too, because when I hit record too, I'm just like anybody who's doing it with me. Sometimes my mind isn't fully there. Through the flow and through the breath, I get there. Same with teaching a live class, but sometimes I hit record and I'm not quite there yet, but I know I'll be there. I know I'll be there soon. I'm sure that's how it works with a lot of people. And sometimes I'll switch a little bit. Or it's different when you're instructing and talking the whole time too. Your mind, sometimes you'll slip and your leg might slip and you're not as sharp in the exercises because you're always thinking about what you're doing now, what you just did, and what you're gonna do.
Do you practice any meditation, or do you do anything for presence, or no?
I pray a lot. I mean, I pray, meditate. A lot of times before I film, I'll just breathe, do the deep abdominal breathing where you work the breathing muscles and expand the ribs. Other times it's different. I'm actually working on a book right now. It's kind of a memoir about teaching and my life in fitness and filming and books and everything. And I just started writing about teaching. I want to do a whole chapter on that. I like to do a whole book on it, but it's difficult for me because something you just do a lot, sometimes it's hard to put into words. You just do it. Or I rely, as I said, more on the actual filming once I hit record to carry me through, and it always does, more than what I do before. I get prepared to film. I like to plan, but I also like to be very spontaneous. That's my personality, and it works well for flowing.
I totally
just go off script a lot.
I totally understand that about the kind of having to live it and be in the moment. You said you're writing this book. You said you liked writing. Do you write non workout books? You're working on this memoir. Is this your first one, or have you written non-fiction or fiction before?
No, every book that I've written has been something with fitness. So this is, I don't know. I write the way I speak a lot. So I write in my own voice. And with this one, I don't have a publisher for it right now, but it's a good exercise. I need to write this stuff down. So I sit down and just write for like 15, 20 minutes. I don't even know what I'm writing some of the time. But it's called Confessions of a Freestyle Fitness Instructor, Coffee. And talking about all the stuff that I've been through, teaching and filming and all the things. There's been some really interesting stories and occurrences, and it's so much packed into the last 12 years or so. I feel very called to write about it. I'm not sure what shape the book will take yet, but I think that's okay. Just writing. Writing.
Do you journal?
People ask me a lot about that.
Do you journal? Is that?
I do. I've been journaling since 1998. Every night, pretty much.
Journaling, I've gotten into probably over quarantine the most. I got into it. And that's how you said prayer. I wouldn't say I'm a religious person, but when I journal, I get into a state of talking to my higher power, as we all do when you journal, and it is a very fulfilling, at least spiritually, experience that I had never really felt before.
Good. Yeah, I always ask for help. I realize I'm just a person. I always need help with that. And it is a great way to focus too, because when I'm not focused, I get irritable, I get upset, I get angry. When I'm focused on life and what I'm doing right now, I feel so good. Everything falls into place.
We go in and out of these waves. I feel that I was so focused for 2 or 3 months. I was really on focus of doing everything every day I needed to do. And within the past few weeks, I've lost a little bit of focus. And I'm still trying to do it, but it's also just, you gotta do the stuff you don't want to do like you love it. Like you gotta focus, and hopefully the energy and the flows will come back to you.
Yeah.
And you can pick back up.
That's the secret, right? Kind of training your mind, because the mind will just drag you all over the place. And we let it do that, drag you away from what you're supposed to be doing. And I know what you mean. Some nights I fall asleep, I just feel great. Next day you wake up and you're like, unfocused, irritable. You feel different. Your mind, you don't realize what you're doing, but you're living in this little mental prison sometimes. Your mind is poisoning your body. And I don't like it. When I get there, I start praying. And a lot of times I don't. I just sometimes wallow in it. Sometimes it feels kind of good. But I'm happiest when I'm productive and working and focused and being a good husband, good father, good friend, good teacher, good brother, good neighbor to everybody. But sometimes they're just not there. Some days are just bad days. Sometimes.
Yeah.
And you can't let it sit there. You just gotta let it go and move on.
It's fun. Yeah, I was doing some reading, and they were talking about how when you feel the least focused is when you need to pick up more responsibility, and how that seems so counterproductive. It's like, no, you have to focus on what you need. But no, the more focus you lose, the less you kind of have to be spread out and well-rounded, because if you just focus on one thing, everything else is going to slip, and then you're going to feel down about those things.
Oh, exactly. Well, your balance goes. You have no balance.
Exactly. And that's why I really do enjoy yoga and your videos. It's because it teaches me balance. It teaches my body to be one. When you do yoga, you learn that every inch of your body is connected, and your mind, and that if it's not at peace or calm or stretched out, then you're not going to be at peace or calm or stretched out.
Yeah. When I tell people, whether on podcasts or in person, that I get irritable. I get angry. I have moments a lot. They don't believe it sometimes because you just see me in the videos. And when I'm filming, that's a great spot for me. I'm always in a really good place when I film. That's why I do it. It's therapy. That's why I'm writing about in the book about teaching, because it's very therapeutic for me. If I'm not there, the video won't happen. I have to work through certain things. I come to revelations in videos and teaching that I would not come to normally, but through the movement and the breath and the excitement of the flow and the moment, a lot of great things happen then. And it's very people, they love the videos. That's fantastic. But if it wasn't therapy for me, I wouldn't do it. It helps me out a lot too. Especially going outside to these beautiful spots. I love going out to these spots, and it's lovely. What's not to like? Actually, 99% of the people out there more probably see that as like, I wouldn't want to do that, but I love it. So if people come and see me, like, what are you doing? They're interested, but they would never do it themselves.
You got me into doing yoga outside. I lived on Cape Cod. I moved, but I was able to do it at the beach and at the parks, and I loved that. But yeah, that's how I feel about being on stage. Is even if I'm having a bad day, when I'm on stage, I need to get to that place where they can't know that I had a really bad day. I have to make them laugh, because that's the job. You're teaching people, and you got to get to that place where
you should never know what's really going on. You just want to know what's happening right there at that moment. Have you ever read the book? I love this book. It's called Born Standing Up by Steve Martin.
Yes, I was listening to the audio book of that, actually. Yeah.
Did he read it?
Yes, he did read it. It's really worth listening to. Also.
I've read it twice. Because funny, I read that. I saw so many similarities with doing videos in classes into stand-up in a way. But he said stand-up is the ego's last stand. And he's such a good writer. I think about that book often. I think about it all the time. I grew up in Southern California. That's where he lived. He used to go to Disneyland as a kid. He worked in the magic shop, and he worked at Knott's Berry Farm. And I saw a kindred spirit a lot there, and how he did 18 years in stand-up, was the biggest one in the world, and just turned and walked away from it.
Yeah, that's why I connected to yoga, I think, is there is the similarities of being present. There's certain things where you have to be present, and it doesn't matter what that is, and we all find our different paths to that moment of presence. Yeah. And I think that's kind of why I wanted to have you on, is because you did get to that, it seems, that moment of presence where you found your thing that gives you that, it brings you to that space.
I compare it to theater too. I call them both heightened reality. There's a electricity of it. Whether you're doing a show, whether you're on stage, it's like that moment has an energy to it that will never ever come again. And videos and classes, I think the same way with that. Like, this is here, it's here now. I'm blessed to be able to do this, and I want to do it the best I can. And then you just move on from that. But there are all these little episodic videos, episodic shows that, when I lay in bed at night, I'll think back to professional theater and being on stage thousands of times in these different theaters. And it's a neat feeling, but they're like shadows. But I tell you, I'm so glad I did all that. I was there. I did all that.
Yeah. So you don't miss it. You got burnt out. Over quarantine, I lost stand-up. I wasn't able to do it, of course, and I'm now back to doing it every night. But I had to find that
every
thing.
Night. That's good.
Yeah, I was doing it 2-3 times a night before.
That's
I was able
great.
to perform, but
you just get out there and do it, right? That's my advice too. Is like, go do it. You get out there.
Exactly. You
stop
just have
thinking
to go
about do it. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Yeah, but I lost the tangent I was going off on that, but I want to thank you for being on. I had a really great time talking to you. Do you want to give your plugs where people can find you?
Sure. If they want to follow my videos, they can go to YouTube and go to Sean Vigue Fitness. Just type in Sean Vigue Fitness, SEAN And then Vigue is Vogue, but with an I. I've been saying that in my videos a lot lately. So Sean Vigue Fitness. And you can also go to SeanVigueFitness.com. Check out my podcast, my book library, and any other stuff I have on there also. But you type in my name on Google or wherever, and I'll pop up.
And you should definitely watch his videos. I love them, and I still watch them now after 2 years. So thank you so much for being on. I really appreciate this. And
my pleasure.
Hopefully our paths will cross again.
Yeah, stay in touch. You'll be seeing me probably tonight or tomorrow on the screen.
Exactly, and I'll be commenting on the videos now.
Good.
All right, thank you.